A 30 years old northern Nigerian. She was only 12. Part 2. For weeks after the statewide competition, Amina Ibrahim became the quiet hero of her village. Every evening, the small community spoke her name with pride. She had come a close second in a contest that measured knowledge, reasoning, and speed, a feat no girl from her village had ever achieved. Her teachers had called her brilliance rare, almost impossible. Her brothers bragged loudly to anyone who would listen. Our Amina, the future doctor of Bono. Her mother, Hawa, would quietly touch her daughter's cheek and weep softly, unable to express the swelling pride in words. Her father, Malam Ibrahim, always silent in the presence of strangers, would fold his hands in prayer, whispering words that no one heard but had hung in the air with hope and fear. Life had settled into a fragile rhythm again. Amina's mornings were spent rushing through lessons, her backpack bouncing against her small frame as she ran to school, her brothers teasing and joking beside her. Her laughter echoed lightly along the dusty paths of the village, a sound that brought warmth to everyone who heard it. She would often pause by the neem tree near her home, writing her future in the dust with sticks and stones. Amina Ibrahim, doctor. Sometimes, she would smile at the letters she traced, and sometimes she would pause, imagining herself wearing a white coat, holding a stethoscope, and comforting patients she had never met. Her teachers, neighbors, and even strangers who passed through the village would stop to glance at her, whispering words of admiration. This one is different. Protect her. Elders would say, watching her move with purpose beyond her age. Her brothers often spoke among themselves in prideful whispers. She will save lives one day. We will build a hospital for her dreams. And yet, amid the pride, life remained painfully ordinary. Her family was poor, scraping together every naira for her books and uniform, relying on unpredictable harvests and small sales of firewood and labor. But in the small, tight-knit village, hope carried them. Amina's determination made them believe that tomorrow would be better, that the endless struggle of poverty could be transformed into a bright future with one determined girl. One quiet morning, Amina woke up early, as she always did. She brushed her teeth with the water she had drawn from the well, tied her hair neatly under her scarf, and packed her little exercise book carefully in her bag. Today was a regular day. School lessons, quizzes, and the usual chatter among classmates. But she felt a strange excitement. Her heart fluttered in the way it did before competitions, before achievements, before moments that felt important. Her mother watched her carefully, silently memorizing the movements of her daughter, aware that these small moments could vanish at any time. Hawa whispered softly, "Come back straight home, oh, Amina. Be careful." Amina smiled faintly, dimples forming on her small cheeks, and whispered back, "I will, Mama." Her father walked with her pathway to school, taking a few extra steps to ensure she reached the gate safely. He looked at the horizon, unconsciously scanning the paths for danger, a tension he could not explain. Even in ordinary days, a parent's instinct notices invisible threats. At the school, life seemed normal at first. Children ran along the dusty yard, teachers called out lessons, and the morning sun warmed the red earth beneath their feet. Amina found her seat, opened her book, and scribbled quietly in the margins, practicing her letters and doing quick mental math. She smiled faintly as she imagined herself solving problems for patients one day, saving lives with her hands and her mind. Then the sound came. At first, it was faint, like the distant rumble of thunder, a low vibration under the feet of the villagers walking along the paths. It grew louder, sharper, more urgent. Hawa's eyes widened and Malam Ibrahim froze. "Do you hear that?" he asked, a voice thick with worry. "Malam, that is not thunder," Hawa whispered back, the words barely leaving her lips before they were carried away by the wind. From the horizon, a swarm of motorcycles appeared first, dozens of them roaring through the town like a black wave. Behind them came a large truck packed with armed men, over 100, moving in perfect coordination. The sound of engines, boots, and the sharp report of gunfire erupted simultaneously. Fear exploded through the town like wildfire. Parents screamed for their children. Mothers grabbed the youngest by the arms, dragging them away. Fathers shouted for families to scatter, but chaos had already claimed the streets. Inside the school, the morning lessons became screamed in an instant. Teachers shouted for children to hide. Some dragged them under desks. Some tried to protect the younger ones with their own bodies. Gunshots rang through the air, making even the bravest children tremble. Amina, clutching her little exercise book, dropped to the ground beneath her desk, her small heart hammering so fast as if it could escape her chest. The air was thick with dust, smoke, and cries, the floor vibrating with the weight of engines and terror. The attackers stormed the school compound, dragging children outside. Some girls tried to run, but the men were everywhere, circling, shouting, pushing, striking. Some resisted, but no resistance mattered against the organized violence. Teachers who tried to shield their students were shot and killed at the spot. This was a scene straight out of a horror story. Some girls were beaten until they could no longer stand. Amina looked at the ground where her exercise book had fallen. The last words she had written just moments ago still glimmered faintly in the dust. She reached out instinctively, but a hand grabbed her wrist and yanked her up, pulling her towards the motorcycles and the truck. The chaos outside was unimaginable. Children cried, screamed, and begged their mothers. Some mothers who had run to the school gate were shot multiple times by the swarm of attackers. Parents watched from a distance, unable to reach their children, their hearts breaking as the armed men herded the students into vehicles. Hawa screamed, clawing at the empty air, calling for Amina. Malam Ibrahim's knees buckled and he sank to the ground, shaking with helplessness. Villagers could do nothing. The attackers moved too fast, too many, too determined. Amina's eyes filled with tears, blurring the chaos into a haze of dust, noise, and terror. She tried to call out to her parents, to her teachers, to the sky, to anything, but the roar of engines and the shouts of men drowned her words. Each step she was forced to take towards the truck felt like her heart being torn from her chest. Each girl beside her sobbed quietly or screamed in terror, some holding hands with friends they might never see again. By the time the last motorcycle disappeared down the dusty road, silence fell over the village like a heavy blanket. Classrooms were empty, overturned desks lay in the dust, and the red earth was smeared with footprints of fear. Parents ran towards the school compound. Hawa and Malam Ibrahim reached the gate and fell to their knees, calling for Amina. Mothers wept uncontrollably. Fathers shook their heads, mouths opening and closing, unable to find words. The village was stunned. A quiet horror settled over Elzevholm, every path, every familiar place. Hawa fell to the ground, clutching the earth as though she could pull her daughter back from the place she had vanished. Malam Ibrahim held her as she shook uncontrollably, whispering brokenly, "We will find her, we will find her," though he did not believe the word himself. The children, the classrooms, and the playground, all that had once been filled with hope and laughter, were now echoes of grief. And in that moment, Amina Ibrahim, the girl who dreamed of being a doctor, the child who studied under dim lantern light, the hope of a family and a village, was gone. The dream she carried in her small hands and the future she had etched in dust and in heart were taken in an instant. And the village, for the first time, realized how fragile hope could be when faced with overwhelming darkness.
Even as the parents wept, the brothers ran along the paths, searching, screaming their sister's name. Neighbors tried to gather what little information they could, but the attackers had vanished as quickly as they came. All that remained was the echo of engines, the smoke in the air, and the knowledge that life, as it had been, was irreversibly changed. Days later, the memory of that morning would linger in every corner of the village. The sound of gunfire, the roar of motorcycles, the screams of children, and the sight of their parents' faces at the school gate. And amid the grief, amid the tears and despair, a quiet question haunted every home. Could Hope survive this? Could Amina survive this? And deep in the forest, far from the village, Amina clutched her small exercise book to her chest, whispering the words she had written just hours before,
as though repeating them could somehow shield her from the storm. One day I will save lives. But even as she whispered, the reality pressed in. She was no longer in the safety of home, no longer surrounded by the love of her family. She had stepped into a world of fear, a world that would test her courage, her mind, and her spirit in ways that no 12-year-old should ever know. The village, left behind, had nothing but silence, dust, and the echo of stolen laughter. Save those tears of yours because you will be needing them for part 3. Don't forget to tap the subscribe button, comment, like, and share.